Welcome. My name is Atin Gupta. I'm your host today, and we're going to talk about how to create deeper relationships with our clients. Our guest speaker is Shannon Lee Simmons. She's a certified financial planner, a chartered investment manager, a life coach, and a speaker, an author and founder of award-winning New School of Finance. The New School of Finance, it's particularly about advice-only financial planning, coaching, and educational firm for individuals and small businesses. So in this interview, we'll be learning a little bit about Shannon's unconventional approach to client management. She often hires life coaches to her team members and overtrained professionals, because according to her, being a financial planner is only 90% of the life coaching and 10% math. She recommends accountants and planners focus more on the emotional labor that comes within their job to maintain better relationships with their client. So with that, I welcome Shannon.
Hello.
Hi, Shannon. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
You're great. Thank you for joining us. Do you want to give me a little bit about the background into the audience, about yourself and about your practice?
The bread and butter of what I do is I run the New School of Finance, which is an advice-only or sometimes called fee-only financial planning firm. And what's really exciting to me about that is that it allows, because we don't sell any products, we don't sell mutual funds, we don't manage investments in-house, we don't sell insurance, nothing. So because of that, that really allows us to focus on like a holistic solution for people without having our compensation tied to the financial outcome of their actions. So, if someone's asking us pay down the mortgage or put money in the RSP, whatever advice we're able to give is purely on what's best for that household or that person, and not necessarily because I obviously have a bias to bring their money in-house and put it in the RSP for me to manage. So I've really enjoyed that. And I used to work on Bay Street and I quit in 2010. Yeah, 2010 now. To break out on my own and see if I could actually make a go at fee only. And here we are, like, yay, over a decade later.
Since we're talking about deeper relationship with clients, I think, how do you see clients? When you talk about clients, what comes to mind?
The unbiased piece comes first, almost like it's like the foundation, because already I have a level of trust with them that when I was working on Bay Street, I really felt like I had to compensate for. I had to over-explain. I felt like I was sheepish almost when I would give advice. And so that fundamental foundation of trust, I think is the most important thing. So when I think about clients and I think about the advice that we give or that relationship that we're starting, they have to trust you. So even if you're, if you are selling products, I still feel like you can have that trust through proper education and honest advice and transparency. So fundamentally, I think it's having trust. And if you can earn that with a client, then you can kind of become this almost like a go-to person in their life. So for me, the client experience is they come in, we work on, we figure out what's going on in their life. We provide a plan or whatever, but then I'll expect to, or I experience this most times. We touch base several times throughout the year, and they would come in for a session, every 2 to 3 years or whenever something big in their life happens. So I like to use like micro timelines for people, because the old model used to say in financial planning, you run this $4,000 financial plan, it prints out 40 pages. Here's your life, go Godspeed, right? But that's not how life works. So I really like to focus in on what can we control in the next little bit of time? What do we know? What's easy to project? Let's make some decisions within that keeping the big picture in mind, but keeping the context of what's important to you right now, and then navigating through that. So I'm really big on micro timelines. And I do think that the life coaching piece really feeds into that trust loop, because I'm not just racing to find a solution. So I'm listening to what's going on in their life, and I'm digging down and drilling down with powerful questions, open-ended questions. Often people will say something like, I want to make 8% in my portfolio. Okay, what does 8% mean to you? What's that about? And we drill down. And really what it comes down to is I don't want to fight with my partner about money at 3 a.m. That's the problem. So then let's solve that problem. This isn't about 8%. Not that wouldn't be lovely, but often the what people say they need from their money is not actually a reflection. It's how they want to feel about their money. That's what they're really coming to us for.
Got it. How do you see establishing trust?
Instead of casting a wide net around, we do everything to everyone. We're very like targeted and niche and very specific. So the trust already exists. If someone's just even creeping on our website, it's like, I like what they're up to. They seem really authentic. I like the cut of their jib. I like what they're saying. And then they go that one step further. What's another thing that we do to establish trust before someone even contacts us is I'm extraordinarily transparent about fees. It's right on the website. So one thing that I think is really awful in the financial industry is that so many people don't post their fees. It's a nebulous thing. So you're like, come reach out to us today. And you have a person who's nervous about what that might cost or money. And the reason they want to reach out in the first place is they want to feel good about their finances, but they don't know if it's going to be thousands or hundreds. They don't know, or the range even of what that's going to be. And already you have a distrust. Like, what are they going to say? Why won't they tell me what this is going to cost? It's like a contractor coming in and not really giving you an established quote or range. They're just like, oh, don't worry, just come on in. I'll just do the work. And it's like, no. What is it? It's going to put me out. So I think that having our fees right on the website, immediately it sets the trust of like, okay, I at least know that if I reach out to these people, this is kind of the framework that it'll work. And it might bounce around between this range, but like here, this is my max spend. So if that's out of my price range, I'm not even going to reach out. So we've already filtered through. So people that are reaching out to us feel comfortable within the price range. They like what we're all about. They like our MO. So we've already established that level of trust between them. And then we finally have client contact. And that client contact, I think, not selling right away, right? So we are a business, obviously we're here to sell. But what I've learned over my 10 plus years is that sometimes it's a slower burn. That slower burn will end up with the more meaningful relationships later. So instead of going for those, literally we'll do anything for anyone at any time. It's like, no, like really crafting in who that client is, who's going to be someone who really gets the most value from the service. So again, providing more education, answering questions right off the bat, and really explaining how the process works. Often those three levels. So like putting out what our brand is all about and like who we are and what we believe, having transparent fees right away before they even contact us, and then having our frontline client service team be an education piece versus a selling piece. They're client educators. They're not salespeople.
When someone like this comes along and they says, you know what, great information, you are within my price range, I'm still thinking. And then it feels like, like we invested some amount of time.
Totally.
And at the end of the day, if we have 10 of those, then how many frogs do I need to kiss?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it? Like, how do you suss out? So we really try to suss out before we even get someone, like a person reaching in. So that's been really helpful over the years to hone that in. We have a 3-month waiting list, which is awesome. But so what we do is we get people to book a spot and they have to pay a small $40 deposit to hold it. What that third line of defense does as well is like anyone who's just like, I'm not really sure, isn't going to pay $40. $40 for someone who is serious is nothing, right? And obviously it goes against the cost of the meeting, all that stuff. Yeah. So that the people that are touching us are really, truly serious. And then, sometimes there's just people that it's just not a great fit. And to be honest with you, if they get that far and it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. And I don't want to force it, because then we're just going to end up with someone who might be unsatisfied. And what's that about? I don't want that. I don't want to be charging someone for something they're not pumped about.
Giving half an hour away of that education is much more valuable than stepping back and saying, hey, I don't want to invest more because I don't think we're a good fit.
And that I feel like it's keeping bad reviews away, because the people that come through are stoked. Versus people who are uneasy, they feel pressured, they're not sure, like that person's not going to have a good time, So
once the clients are there, what is generally the process to make sure the trust maintains, because we're still getting to know each other? So what do you guys kind of do there?
So I think that's where the hiring good people who are able to hold space for people and do emotional labor first. Then also a financial planner. So it's like having that right person to do the job is really, really critical. And that's why, as we have chatted about, I've hired I hire people who are like a trained educator at first, or like a trained a professional ballet dancer before, so the credentials that we hire on are not like, what are your letters behind your name? Because I can put anyone through the CFP program. I can do that. That's a numbers game that can come later, but I can't train how to hold space for people, how to talk to people, how to do all of that kind of emotional labor, which I find is how you continue that trust. So they trust you, they have expectations that this is going to be rad, and then you deliver it, like deliver on your value proposition, which sounds so like obviously, but that's a huge can of worms right there. How do you deliver consistently on your value proposition? It's having the right people in a service-based industry like mine. It is having the right people and also the right operations in place so that the people that are delivering the financial advice are emotionally and mentally, they have the bandwidth to hold that space for other people. Because in our line of work, when you're talking about money, even if you have somebody who's got lots of it, it's very fraught. The emotional stakes are high. The financial stakes are often high, depending on what they're doing. There can be conflict between partners, between families. Like there's lots going on. There's shame sometimes. Like there's a lot happening. So if you have a financial planner who is bogged down on the operational stuff and like doesn't have processes and half their time is spent just like managing that, then, being present fully for a meeting and being able to deliver on that, the value proposition is going to be harder. So it's a combination of hiring the right people, training them in the right things, and then also making sure that they can do their job by taking some of the operational processes off their plate and really streamlining that with either the right people or the right technology or the right processes.
When the clients pay for service, then the service is just almost a given. What, according to you, that they're looking for beyond a service that is not defined in any way, but that is a main factor, a qualitative factor that keeps them there and keeps them coming or keeps them recommending somebody else to you? And it's not usually always a service, but I may be wrong. I wanted to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's a vibe. Honestly, I know that sounds so wishy-washy, but like we call it the brunch effect. So the brunch effect is something that we made up years ago, because on Monday our inboxes would be overflowing with people saying like, "Oh my God, I went to brunch on the weekend." This is when we were, in our 20s, whatever. Now it's probably the dinner effect or the school drop-off effect, but whatever. But like, it's basically people get together on the weekend and they're like, "I had this unbelievable session last week. You have to go." So that piece, the reason that they're talking about having a financial session with exuberance and like, you have to do this, is because they ultimately, I think they had fun. Even if they were crying in their session or like frustrated or whatever it was, they walked away feeling like, that was really good. So whether, you know what I mean? Like it was so good that I can't wait to tell someone else about it.
If you have to pick a hierarchy and it says firm or company, yourself, people, and clients from top to bottom.
Firm, yourself, people, clients. Okay.
What would be the top or what would be the bottom? Who would you care the most if a situation comes in and you're put in a room and there's a selection to be made between yourself, your firm, your people, and your clients? You have to choose one of them to start with. Who would you choose?
My people, because without my team, clients are unhappy. Without my team, there is no company, and without my team, there's no company, there's no clients. I lose. So fundamentally, at the end of the day, keeping my team happy, all of those other pieces win. There is no other debate.
Before we get to the takeaways, I think it's good to summarize. We talked a lot about different things. Thank you so much. It's great, wonderful. When it comes to scalability, how much is enough? At what point in time you'll say, I'm at a decent place. I don't need to grow crazy. Yeah. I want to build sustainably. Yeah.
So number one, I think scalability is a moving target. And I think too often entrepreneurs are like, you think you pick a goal and that's supposed to be the dream. But I think the dream changes, and it should change depending on where things are at. So, in the beginning, my scalable dream was to have like offices in Vancouver, Toronto, and Halifax. Mm-hmm. And that was like, we were going towards it, scaling up to where we could afford to that. We were just about to pull the trigger and like, okay, the pandemic. Okay. So that like fundamentally shifted. Do we actually need to pay rent in Vancouver now that things are shifting? No. Okay. So like, how stubborn am I going to be on that scalable goal? Like what's scalability? So there's the actual goal setting, which like, I think has to shift. And then from a scaling point of view and like how much is enough and how much money is enough. So I've really had I've noticed about myself as an entrepreneur, I don't fit the growth for the sake of growth personality. I believe that for me, not for everybody, but for me, there is a place where you can create a sustainable business where in that hierarchy, your people are happy, the firm functions, clients get what they need, and I'm stoked. And that might shift, 3 years from now, it might be out of whack and I need to do something again to get the pyramid back in order. Yeah. But right now we're at a place where that's all aligned. So for the next, I think it's okay to sustain and support while it's working, as long as you have an open mind that it's almost like rebalancing a portfolio, that like when things get out of whack, you rebalance. So maybe you scale at that point because you need to. And so I think I'm opting out of the growth for the sake of growth because I don't need to grow to make my people happy anymore. I don't need to grow to make the clients happier. I don't need to grow to make myself happier, which is the firm, the new school. And so as long as those three things are sustainably satisfied, then let's maintain, and that's okay.
What comes to mind when I think about it is like when I left the firm, I was really regionally leading the firm. We had a national partner and all those things. And I struggled with growth. And somebody would say, we'll give you more to get more. And I would say, but I already have enough.
Have enough. That's right.
I give more to get more time back. Time is the whole fundamental philosophy is give back time to people so they can focus on things and experience life the way it needs to be experienced and not get caught up in this whole minutia of just because you can do better doesn't mean you have to, right? Yeah. It's always interesting how people get caught up. And then, so we had this really beautiful thing at the firm, 2-year growth, 1-year reflection. You're not supposed to grow at all. Sometimes they even cut back and say, where are you sitting at 2 million practice? Cut it down to 1.2 million or 1.3 million. Go take some time off, spend the time, reflect, connect with your clients, connect with your people. And then 2 years grow, 1 year reflect, 2 years grow.
That's interesting.
It was very interesting because people were pushed, but then at the same time, they knew something was coming. And that year was the year.
If you know there's a break, you can push because you understand that it's not forever. And I find that we can all get through tough times or hard times if we're like, this isn't forever, this is for now, but when it feels like that's all that there is, that's when things get really hard.
Thank you so much for your time. I wanted to leave you with one last thought and maybe hear your thoughts on that. Is if you have to give 4 or 5 takeaways, just summarizing what we talked about, particularly focused on building the right team and servicing and deepening our relationship with the clients, what would it be?
So number one would be to hire the right people and train them properly. I think that is so important because that's going to trickle down. As soon as you lose control over services being delivered or whatever, you need to trust your team. So hiring the right person, training them properly, being transparent with clients right up front so that when people do come through to your firm or to your company, they already know what to expect. So you're setting expectations with them to build that platform of trust. And then lastly, I think it would be putting your people first, putting your team first, or like if you have a team, putting them first, because that'll trickle down to the clients and build that trust. And if you don't have a team yet and it's just you, like focusing on building that trusting relationship. So at the end of the day, you got to deliver on what you say you're going to do. And I don't mean deliver as in like make a plan on time or file taxes on time. I mean, delivering on an emotional level for someone, being there when they need you, responding to them when they need you to respond, and asking the right questions to solve the actual issue at hand and not just trying to endlessly find financial solutions.
Right. Thank you so much, Shannon. This is wonderful. For those who are listening, please feel free to check out New School of Finance. I think this is going to start a lot of good conversations and a lot of good conversations over coffee, even if it's a virtual coffee. And I wish you the very best in what you're doing. I think this is great insight, and thank you so much for sharing it.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good luck with everything, and have a great weekend, rest of the weekend. Folks, if there's anything else you have questions, please drop a message, and we'll be happy to answer all and every questions that we can. And please feel free to reach out to Shannon. As she said, she's always ready to talk.